right? Now, why a company should, an organization should, right now we have discussed the supplier end, right? But why an organization, a company, right, should focus on their strategic sourcing department, strategic sourcing function, or the activities. Why a company is more bothered about that, right? Is it really impacting the bottom line? That we would see, right? So many surveys have been done, and it has been observed that the sourcing costs, right? So for any company, when they go for buying products or services, it costs 40 to 80% of the cost of goods sold, right? Why this bigger range, right? The when we say manufacturing sector, in manufacturing sector mostly 70 to 80% of COGS, but in services also approximately 40 to 50% of cost of goods sold are contributed by the sourcing or supply related functions, right? 30 to 50% of revenues earned are spent on sourcing, right? And this is a significant driver of organizational financial performance. How? Right? We would see a very interesting relation of the cost, right? Sourcing cost, which is more of, we can say, let's say material cost, cost of buying the product, and the bottom line, return on assets, right? How we turn out the profits relative to assets, right? So generally, return on assets, how do we compute return on assets? When we multiply our inventory turnover with the profit margin, correct? And how we get inventory turnover? When we divide sales by the total assets, and profit margin is nothing but when the profit earned is divided by sales, and profit is nothing but sales, also called revenues, right? Sales minus total cost, right? The total assets are nothing but some contribution of inventory, right? Inventory is a part of total asset. It can be like materials which we buy, raw material, right? So here we can see a very interesting thing, right? The impact of sourcing on return on assets. Okay, so right, for doing this, we can do this activity. So the similar thing is like can be built like that, right? This is the formula given, right? Now if right, if we have suppose the inventory which is 30% of total assets, right? If we have $1,50,000 worth of inventory in place, okay, and the company is able to make sales of 10 lakh dollars, and the total cost they incur is 9,50,000. Okay, if this is the figure, right, can we compute return on assets, right? So inventory is 30% of total assets, right? We can determine total assets, right? Now here what we want to do, why we are doing this exercise, we want to see that this total cost and total assets, here a lot of cost related to sourcing is concentrated. What we buy in form of raw material, right, inventory, right? So this is concentrated in these two components, right? How this is going to impact on my bottom line, right? Because we have to really see why an organization should focus on this sourcing function, right? So using this data, can we compute return on assets, right? Can you do that? Can we compute the return on assets, right? So we will calculate it and find out the value. You can do it in Excel. Question 2 now. if we can reduce the purchase cost by 10%, right? Which will be reflected in inventory and total cost. How it would be reflected? So this is the intuitive value. Purchases account for half of total sales. This one. The revised figure for inventory and total cost will be 1,35,000 and 90 lakh will be in total cost. Okay. So this reduction will be, right now you are getting ROA of 10%, right, with this exercise. Yes. Sorry here. Right. So your inventory is 30% of total assets, right? So your ROA in the first case is 10. Correct? That was the wrong file. Yeah, this is the correct. So inventory is 30% of total assets. Your sales are given, right? So your inventory turnover ratio, and here your profit margins, when you will multiply, you will get ROA of 10. Okay. But now we have changed the, right? So what we want to do, that we want to see that if we would reduce the purchase cost by 10%, is there any, or what is the impact if we would reduce the cost by 10%? Because reduction in cost means, can we have some means or some efforts in reducing the purchase cost, material cost, raw material cost, right, which would have impact on total assets, right? Suppose by 10% reduction, I would say the inventory will come down to 1,35,000 and my total cost would come down to 90 lakh. So what would be my return on asset? So here you can compute similar manner, right? This is your inventory. This will be your total assets, the reduction in total assets, right? Sale will remain same. Your inventory turnover ratio would increase, right? So your profit margin will be 0.1 now, right? But your return on asset will be approximately 20 or 2022, right? Now we see that what is the impact of 10% reduction in the cost on return on asset. So what percentage of RO has been increased now? If we have to see this percentage increase from 10 to this one, around 100 or more than 100, just more than 100%, right? So you can see that it's more of the, like with 10% reduction in purchase cost or material cost would help us in doubling the return on asset, isn't it? Right? Is it not a very important indicator for an organization that, you know, if you want to double your return on asset, right, you can do it by mere 10% reduction on ROA. Okay. This is easier said than done. It looks like, you know, easy, okay, 10% reduction and I would double the ROA, right? But you know, the idea is that if we know this important relationship, right, between cost and ROA, definitely company would be motivated to put efforts in this direction, right? Companies should do anything and everything possible to reduce this cost, right? Do you know why? Right? Because, you know, if, you know, company has a company has company has to achieve the same ROA improvement by focusing on some other aspect, let's say sale. If not total cost, right? If not total cost, what are the other means of improving ROA, return on assets? Maybe improving the sales, correct? Now, can you think of how much effort you have to put up to increase your sales to achieve same return on assets? Have you got the point? Right? How much effort you have to put to improve the sales, okay, so that I can have same return on assets, same means like double the return on assets, keeping your profit margin same, okay, keeping your profit margin same, right? What would be your new sales figure to achieve your double the return on assets, okay? Can you find out? Right. So, what we have seen that return on assets, when we reduce the total cost by 10%, we are able to increase the return on assets by 100%. Okay. Now, what is the effort to put in the form of increasing sales to achieve same to achieve the double the return on assets? The increase in profit obtained by a decrease in purchase spend is called profit leverage effect, right? So, please mind it that profit leverage effect is also very important aspect, right, what we have done, right? But it is even more important to see that what other means one can use to improve ROA. Suppose if it is sale, right? Suppose my new profit comes out to be this is my old profit, right? Keeping profit margins same, what would be the change in sale I will get? It would be how much? 1 lakh. So, 1 lakh of sale more has to be done, right? The change in sales has to be 1 lakh, right? So, what does this mean? The new sales should be old sales plus change in sales. If old sales is 1 lakh, I have to make 1 more lakh of sales, that means 2 lakhs of sales to get the double ROA. What does this mean? 100% effort in improving the sales to achieve the 20% of ROA, around 20% of return on assets, right? Now, what we have done, right? We have done one scenario with 10% of reduction in cost, right? Suppose if it is due to purchasing material, raw material, right? We can double up the return on asset, right? However, if same impact of ROA has to be achieved due to sales, means by improving the sales, I need to put 100% more effort, means like I should get double the sales to get the double ROA, right? So, from here we can see that it looks to be that it is easier to put 10% effort in reducing the cost, right, than this thing, right? But again, I have already mentioned, it doesn't mean that it comes so easy. The 10% reduction does not come easy. So, in this whole subsequent sessions, we would keep looking for different ways, different sourcing strategies, like how we can able to reduce the cost, and not only cost, how we can introduce how we can take up other aspects of like reaching out to the market fast, right, or other sourcing strategies which would enhance the effectiveness and the efficiency of organization. Okay. So, this is today we have done the supply, how sourcing or supply chain, supply management functions, they impact the organization performance, right. We have seen the functional financial performance so far, right. We will see some other performance indicators also, right, in the subsequent session. Okay. So, this is all, right. Today what we have done, right, we have understood how strategic sourcing has been evolved over a period of time from purchasing and procurement, right. We have seen different milestones this function has achieved in the past, right, and we have seen what are the changing drivers of this strategic sourcing area, right. What are the conditions, what are the factors, what are the drivers which have changed this landscape of strategic sourcing, right. We have also started discussion on how this function is important for the organization performance, right. One aspect of performance we have seen in the terms of financial aspects. Okay. What are the other aspects we will deal in the next session. Thank you.